USC had their spring game in the Coliseum yesterday. What can we make of it? Because Caleb Williams gone to the league, a new defensive staff, a lot of talking points. But before we get to those, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel. If you haven't noticed, you're a little bit of a sicko for this whole college football thing. You're watching a YouTube video reacting to your team's spring game. Are you sure that's something everybody else in the world is doing? No, and that's why you're watching this show. That's why that we want you subscribe to this show, because we're just as sick about this college football operation. So thank you for being dialed in. Make sure you're following me also on the socials at JD Pickell on Twitter and Instagram. Want to hear your thoughts there on this whole spring game. Miller Moss, good. I don't know if great's the word you would use with those two interceptions. I understand the second was a little bit of a fluky play because it got tipped and then it got picked off in the back of the end zone, but it is what it is. Let's start with the defense, because I don't know how you watched yesterday's game in the context of what last season was defensively for USC, allowing like 30 points a game. Yesterday was a win for the defense. Make no mistake about it. And yes, it was a new quarterback that they were breaking in on the offensive side of the ball. Totally true. Yes, they are still going to probably go to the portal and add some pieces. Yes, there was still some plays that you would like to have back if you're that side of the ball, and maybe some operationally things you'd like to fix. But at the end of the day, man, not a finished product. I saw this team play with a lot more confidence defensively. We talked about that a lot during this part of the year, how a new staff, a new voice in that room can just instill some new energy, some new confidence into that building. Also, the big part for me, you saw guys in a lot better position to make plays. And that was the thing last year. I know there was still some personnel disparity between what USC had and what the elite teams had in college football. And I still think there's probably a little bit of ground to be made up there. But to see guys in position to make plays, and then ultimately making some plays to the tune of 4 interceptions yesterday, that has to be encouraging. It has to be. I know it's a spring game. I know this game doesn't count for anything, but at the end of the day, man, it's very, very difficult for me to walk away from that game if I'm a USC fan and hang my head in any way about what that side of the ball is doing under Danton Lynn and with Eric Henderson and all the new faces they have over there. A new voice brings a totally new outlook on what you do as a football team. Because Danton Lynn, I promise you, there is probably some tone he's using and communicating like, I understand what we were last year. I wasn't here for that. That's not how I do things. So just so you know, this is the standard I have internally. We're going to operate that way, and we're going to meet that standard. So if you're a USC fan, seeing guys at least in position. A lot of times last year they were out of position on simple things. Inside zone, I saw guys out of position in simple zone coverages. Like, there wasn't a lot of that yesterday. So that's a win. Quarterback room, Jaden Mayava, again, I think had the better day. He was 15 for 17, 172 yards, 1 touchdown, a nice little throw to Mekhi Lemon that was a dot. 1 interception. Miller Moss, we talked about his stat line a little bit, 16 for 21, 133 yards. I think spring games are not always indicative of spring camp. Now, I'm not here to tell you I know exactly what's going on behind closed doors in Los Angeles. I don't know who's had the better spring practice, but my feel for it is right now, I think this is Miller Moss's team. I think the fact that he stayed at USC when I think a lesser individual would have left and tried to find somewhere they could play right away, and then the performance he had in the bowl game, Jaden Mayava is super talented. But I do think that Miller Moss, the head start he had on Jaden Mayava, I think matters, and I don't think this spring game, and I don't think it's the end-all, be-all in terms of who's deciding the opening day starter. I still think if the season started tomorrow, Miller Moss would be the guy that you trot out there. A lot of weapons, too, that are starting to excite you if you're a USC fan. Deuce Robinson, a name that you heard about a lot heading into last season. Big target, moved well. He was second on the day in terms of leading receiving, 4 receptions, 56 yards. He's a big target man who can stride. Like, when he came out of high school, he was a tight end, is how we evaluated him here at On3. Looks like USC is going to use him more as a wide receiver based on what they did last year and how they utilized him in the spring game. There's not a lot of DBs that can match up with the size of Deuce Robinson. I'll say it right now. I think he has good speed, and the catch radius he has overall, like, he's going to be a problem at all areas of the field, especially in the red zone, man. You put that thing up on the top shelf where the kids can't get it, keep their hand in the cookie jar, you snag that away. Like that's going to make for a lot of mismatches or extra attention that defenses have to give to number 2. Mekhi Lemon, I mentioned him. He led the game in receiving. He was super impressive yesterday. A guy that we heard a little bit about over at WeAreSC, USC's On3 site. Get a membership over there. Scott Schrader crushing the coverage over there with the team. 6 receptions, 52 yards. That back shoulder catch in the end zone I thought was extremely exciting, very pretty. And you pair those 2 playmakers. That's not an all-encompassing list, by the way, just 2 that I want to talk about right now. Paired with a Zach Branch, that's going to be very nice for whoever's playing quarterback back there, okay? So that's really encouraging that you can put that kind of pressure on defenses with that many weapons as they move into the Big Ten. Because people talk a lot about USC and what they don't have on the defensive line and how they're going to have a learning curve there, and maybe it's going to take a little bit for them to acclimate. That might be true, but I also think that the Big Ten is going to have to acclimate to how Lincoln Riley plays football and to the playmakers that USC has. So we're not predicting anything right now. We're not telling you the win-loss total. But if you're a USC fan, the way the defense looked, they were in position, the confidence, the swag, and the fact that you got a couple of options at quarterback that they feel really good about, hard to be discouraged come out of spring football. So again, subscribe here. Get at me on the socials at JD Piquel now, Twitter and Instagram. Let me know how you felt about your Trojans yesterday in the Coliseum. Gosh, it just even feels good to say that. Who's playing football games in their respective venues. So back. We never really left, did we? Make sure you're locked in. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.